This story begins with a hero on the battlefield, who, according to all the laws of the genre, must defeat the main villain and win the battle against evil. There are frightened people around. They are afraid. Afraid for their loved ones, for themselves, but now their only hope is a hero. An enemy immediately appears, the enemy of all humanity, whose goal is to end the hero once and for all and enslave the world. The battle is hard. Getting up from your knees is becoming more and more difficult, but there is no other choice. If he, the hero, doesn't save people, then no one else can. The hero gathers his strength to deliver a blow that will take his enemy out of the battle for a while, in order to give seconds of respite to himself and the people who are trying to escape, to save themselves from a random attack. But this does not have much effect on him. The villain mocks the pathetic attempt, and himself, as if the hero imagines himself to be a messenger of justice. The enraged hero is again trying to hit the enemy's weak point. He wants to prove that he is the savior of this world, his last hope and the strong leader that the people so need. Seeing the battle from the outside, ordinary people begin to sincerely root for the man. Support is what will really help the hero strengthen faith in himself and his strength on the verge of losing. The guy is trying to concentrate, find a strategy that can increase his chances, get closer to victory, because a mistake will cost too much. He is again about to strike with a powerful spell. The faith of the people encourages him, reminds him of the true purpose of the battle, which lies in salvation. The hero directs all his strength into the villain, furiously promising that he will never lose to his opponent. The magic quickly overtakes the villain. He does not have time to dodge or apply a protective spell. People run away in panic from the sight of the impact. Despite hope, fear has not yet left them. While they are on the battlefield, they are in danger. The enemy of all mankind is defeated. He is on his knees. The hero bends over him as a sign of superiority. Now the man is the only one who decides the fate of the loser, and who can easily leave his life or mercilessly take it away. Bleeding, the villain with an effort raises his head, peering into the distance. From where the voices of people are heard, a foggy consciousness makes it difficult to grasp the meaning of the screams. The crowd is furious and wants revenge for everyone who was injured or died under the rubble of buildings due to his destructive actions. People are chanting, asking the hero to put an end to the enemy of all mankind, death, hostility, and war, and ultimately establish eternal peace on Earth. The calls for death do not end. The hero stands in thought over the defeated man, continuing to delay the moment of his death. The man turns to the fallen villain to repeat everything that people ask for, telling him that no one needs him, and everyone only wants him dead. With the last blow, he throws the enemy aside. The battle is over, and the forces of good are victorious. The pain quickly overtakes the villain. He lets out a final scream, spitting out blood after the blow. The man's body is thrown towards the rubble of buildings. Perhaps they will become his own grave, hidden from the eyes of the whole world. He blinks. There's no more strength left to fight. The last person he sees is the hero, the winner of the battle. The savior turns to people with a smile. Everything is over thanks to him. Evil is over. The greatest enemy of all mankind is defeated, and now you can finally live normally, without looking back and fear. He raises his hand to the top, beginning to cast another spell, promising that now absolute freedom will descend to the earth. The sky turns crimson. The colors of its magic are absolutely the same, but they seem not at all a symbol of freedom and happiness, but a frightening danger. Thunder is heard, lightning flashes. These are not the sounds that should accompany victory. A huge hand with claws emerges from a whirlwind of bloody clouds. The hero looks up at it but does not look surprised at all. People are discouraged. In misunderstanding, they continue to stand and look at the terrible sight. Silent fear of this monstrous force is reflected on their faces. However, the hero looks at this as if the greatness of heaven has now illuminated him and ordinary people. He is fascinated by what is happening. The devil's hand hovers over the crowd. They run away in panic, again trying to escape from an incomprehensible threat. At the same moment, the broken villain watches what is happening. He is still alive. His wounds prevent him from escaping, but he also cannot die. The hero finally pays attention to his enemy. He is surprised by his thirst for life. It would seem that after all the blows he should have died long ago. A hysterical laugh comes from his lips. The man turns out to be the wrong person at all. All this time he was only pretending. The hero was in fact always the main villain. Pretense, secrecy, all this led him throughout history. For the sake of his own disastrous goals, he deceived, lied, betrayed, killed. This ends the short story of one writer who published his story on the pages of a well-known website for aspiring writers. In reality, This turns out to be not just an invention of an internet author, but a real story that began with the funeral of a student, a friend of the writer. The unfortunate guy died at the hands of the same hero, who all this time was only pretending to be him. The novella is the real story of a savior who was called that, but never was. It is a theater production where the actors are real people. The completed story with a gloomy ending failed the reader's expectations, and the faithful protagonist of our story decides to ignore all the attacks of people who never understood the meaning of the book. Based on the death of a real person at the hands of such a hero. Putting the computer aside, he can finally take a break after many hours of hard work in front of the computer monitor. The man wakes up not in his bed but somewhere among strange people with pickaxes in their hands. They hit the stones, creating deafening sounds. Before his very eyes, one of those who manages here grabs the unfortunate worker, raising his fist over him. The main character calls out to the boss for a second. Now all eyes are turned to him in surprise. The blows of the fists fall on him. He cannot defend himself against them with his own hands, and the pain in his body only grows. At some point, one of the workers runs up to the boss, tries to save the main character and pacify the man's anger. Finally, he stops his beatings, promising that he will repeat them more than once if he arises or interferes with him. A guy runs up to the hero, who also got it a couple of minutes ago. He is grateful for the protection and asks if everything is okay with him. The man lowers his eyes to his hands, not believing that all this is happening to him, that this is not a dream, but a reality that is happening here and now. He jumps up sharply, ignoring his interlocutor, runs away to the side, the pain from the blows still weakly pulsating in his body. Suddenly, the guy falls to his knees, and streams of magic begin to accumulate around him, trying to penetrate his body and imbue him with magical power. He looks at his hand again. The understanding that this is not a dream, but reality, comes to him along with the realization that he has just received the magical energy of this world. A man leans over a small pond to rinse himself with water and try to cool his head. In the reflection, he is met by the very enemy of all humanity, one of the characters in the story, who in the end loses to the two-faced hero and dies along with the rest of the world. He remembers the plot of the story, realizing that since he ended up in the body of one of the antagonists, the same pitiful end awaits him. At the same time, the guy realizes not only his role in the story, but also what will soon inevitably happen to ordinary people, victims of circumstances and the deception of a real villain. Now no one except him can change the plot of history and his own destiny, save humanity from the hands of the devil, who will soon come to their world. The moment in which the hero finds himself is the beginning of a story where the future enemy of humanity has not only low physical abilities, but also poor skills for battle. He grabs one of the mind crystals, beginning to draw special symbols for the summoning, but is interrupted by one of the workers, who recently suffered at the hands of the overseer. The man quickly brushes away the magical design with his foot so as not to be noticed, and turns to the guy who approaches, hinting at escape. The organization in which the hero and many other unfortunates find themselves specializes in catching people with a small amount of magic so that they can find and mine crystals. In fact, this is slavery, where people are not given rest, sleep, and little food. People here only survive, but do not live at all. The guy who approached the hero earlier is a prototype of a real person. He died due to constant beatings at school, due to inattention to his problem on the part of adults. The main character continues to do difficult work, pretending to be obedient and quiet, so as not to attract unnecessary attention to himself. Soon he sees the same prototype character kneeling before the warden. The guy tried to escape, but this attempt failed, and he was caught. Now he faces a punishment worse than daily blows. Fear clouds the eyes. The more seconds pass, the more terrible it becomes. The man understands what will be done to him. He is pierced with a sword. Now it is not the expectation of death, but its arrival. It does not get any easier, and the warden hits him several more times with the tip of the sword. Everyone around them is horrified. They are frozen in mute inaction, watching the death of a person. Here it is a common thing when people die every day. They could not bear this frightening sight. In panic, the workers turn away from the splashes of blood, want to be distracted, and rush to return to their work. Only the main character does not leave and bends over the lifeless body. He does not regret that he advised him to escape, but is obliged to remember this picture as a reminder of the goal to which he must go, no matter what. The warden mocks this scene. In response, the man declares that he does not feel any pity for the murdered man and asks to be taken to the toilet. They stop in front of the toilet, after which the guard warns that he only gives him a minute to do everything and threatens to deal with him if he doesn't hurry up. Entering a narrow room with a wash basin, the guy sees many dead men, workers just like him. Some committed suicide out of despair or fear. Others were killed right here. He wounds his hand on cold stones in order to begin a ritual with the help of blood, to draw magical symbols. He finishes and a large sign appears in the center. The whole thing looking ominous due to the blood used for the summoning. The spell illuminates the hero's face with a flash. He waits until it reaches the desired level of development. The man begins to talk with an unknown interlocutor, whom he tries to call. At the same time, he remembers how he described this episode in his short story, when an unknown spell appears during people's work and wreaks havoc, thanks to which the future enemy of all mankind escapes. However, now the hero decides to independently call him the Robber of Dimensions, in order to curb, absorb his power, and escape from the ill-fated place. The warden immediately bursts in. Time is up, and he is ready to commit another bloodshed within the prison walls. The Dimension Robber became interested in the impudent man who dared to call him. He gives him strength for a short time, after which all the hero's physical and magical abilities increase to the maximum level. Now he is ready to attack his guard. The warden does not see his opponent. Teleportation skills make it possible to be invisible and unexpectedly strike. The main character makes a fatal blow. His opponent is defeated, and he himself is finally able to escape. The dimensional robber becomes interested in such cold-blooded killing and the man's terrifying fighting skills. He decides not to take away the power that he was temporarily given. The man takes the weapon of the dead man, ready for a new fight. The hero makes a promise to himself that he will no longer look back and fail. Now he himself has become the creator of his own destiny. The first thing he does is find another guard who suffers the same fate as the previous one. The man dresses up in the uniform of a second-level soldier to impersonate one of them. Next, the hero sets fire to the building in order to cause a commotion and confuse his tracks. His third step is the final escape, precisely through the main gate, in order to leave as an absolute winner. The guards are alarmed because of the fire. In the commotion, they try to correct the consequences of the fire, but the flames uncontrollably devour everything in their path. Unnoticed by everyone, the main character sits in the back seats of one of the patrol cars. There is only one way out of the territory. It seems the easiest and simplest, but it is a trap for all fugitives who decide to try their luck. Pretending to be a second-rank security guard, the man gives an order, assuring the car drivers that one of the workers has escaped, and it is urgent to catch him while he is still near the base. However, one of them treats the guy with caution. He finds him strange and suspicious. The man asks the main character a question, which brings him to light, after which he promptly kills him. Next, he turns his weapon towards the driver, preparing to finish him off too, to remove the unexpected obstacle that has arisen. But he abruptly stops the car. The main character loses his balance and does not strike him. It was a distracting maneuver. The guard gathers all his strength into a fist to throw the guy aside and prevent himself from being touched by the blade of the sword. He thinks that the blow hit the target. He was able to stop the main character, knock him out. The security guard notices in the rearview mirror that the man is not finished and is still fine. At the same moment, the hero overtakes him, piercing him with his sword. The guy's eyes express silent shock, and this is the last thing he could feel before his death. Suddenly, the man is struck by a sharp pain in his head. The energy he spent on teleportation has left him pretty exhausted. At the same time, he notices that another car is driving nearby. Apparently, a random patrol discovered the scene of the accident and suspected something was wrong. The guy quickly goes down the slope to hide from the eyes of the guards and run further into the forest. One of the hunters gets in his way. He finds him with the help of his ability to sense magical energy and follow it. The hero notices that the guy who appears has a constellation, a contract that is concluded with such spirits as the Dimensional Robber. This is his chance, a chance to appropriate someone else's constellation for himself. All he needs to do is kill his pursuer and appropriate his abilities for himself. The battle has begun. Due to the difference in levels, the hero understands that it is not profitable for him to engage in direct combat. He needs to lure the hunter into his trap. Special vision helps the pursuer see through objects, feel magic, and navigate its manifestations. The hunter finally notices his target near the tree. A bright mark appears in the eyes of the beholder. He hid so close. A man throws his weapon at a target in order to easily deal with it. However, chopped-off cloth appears before him, and the body of the enemy is not there, nor are there any traces. The hunter is overtaken by the blade of the hero's sword. He shouldn't have just thrown away his weapon, the only thing he can use to defend himself. The man won this fight. He killed the enemy and can now calmly leave along the path he follows. Some skills are added to the guy's abilities, including seeing magic and the constellation of the loser. A nice bonus to the time spent on an unexpected opponent. Suddenly, a sharp pain runs through the hero's body like a discharge. He spent too much magical energy on the battle. He spits out blood, realizing that there is no strength left for another fight. He won't have enough for anything else. The hero remembers how he managed to defeat the hunter, bypass his vision of magic and win the fight. For this, he put all the magic into an ordinary stone. He suppresses his magic to the lowest level at which he can remain undetected, and then throws a stone to the side, distracting his opponent. Then the hunter buys into this trick and sends his weapon to the place where the stone was, losing it, and, in the end, losing. After the battle, the hero notices a truck that is heading to the city. This is a safe way to leave the ill-fated place forever and break away from his pursuers. Using his high jump skill, he jumps down a hill directly onto a moving vehicle. The time has come to rest, the road is not close, and there is an opportunity to take a breath without fear of random opponents. Suddenly, for the first time in the world of the novel, the man pays attention to the surrounding forests, mountains, the rising sun at dawn. Such a simple and at the same time incredible miracle of nature stretches before his eyes. Having reached the city in a telephone booth, he calls one of his friends and asks him to pick him up as soon as possible, giving the geolocation for search. The hero's entire journey does not go unnoticed. He was watched by one dangerous person from the organization, who escaped and flames his interest in hunting him like an animal. The main character is met by his old girlfriend. They started their journey together, but he was captured and began to be exploited as a miner of magical ore, and the girl simply did not know about it and continued to carry out tasks, improving her abilities. She was worried about him all this time. In addition, the heroine turns out to be in love with a man for a long time, but he understands that her feelings are directed at the character of the story, in whose body he now finds himself by the will of fate. Helping with the bandage, the girl, worried, asks to join her so that together they can carry out the tasks of the Magic Guild and earn a living from this craft. The guy refuses. He has already gotten into trouble once and does not want to repeat his fate again, dragging his girlfriend along with him. The girl accepts his decision with tears in her eyes. She is still afraid for him, so she recommends one of the good guilds so that he can join her. The main character hails a taxi. The driver asks permission to turn up the radio, which talks about a terrorist organization that was recently destroyed by the famous guild founded by that same two-faced villain. A young married couple is driving in a car. The husband turns to his wife, but she does not answer or react to the voice of her beloved. Then he turns to her to see if everything is okay. The woman suddenly turns into a skeleton. The man presses the brake pedal in surprise. He is very scared and cannot understand what is happening, after which the top of the car is destroyed, and an incomprehensible creature with a scythe penetrates through the open hole. It immediately kills the man. Thus began the Day of Judgment, the day when the world was filled with monsters, mercilessly killing everyone indiscriminately. The journalist points out live on air at the darkened clouds in the sky, which do not bode well. At that very second, a monster attacks her and kills her. The broadcast immediately stops. The vile creature is looking for prey. His thirst for blood does not end. People can only run away in panic from him, and others like him. In these dark times, a bit of light appears in the face of people who have acquired magical abilities and sensitivity to energy. They are the only ones who can resist the monsters that have flooded the whole world. They are called hunters. But not all heroes have conscience and morals. Some, reveling in power, first allowed themselves to kill monsters, then bad people, and then just people, defenseless and simple. The girl is cornered by one of these people. There is nowhere to wait for salvation, and there are more and more hunters who have crossed the line. Suddenly, a man appears in front of her, illuminated by a dazzling light, and with his hand he stops the sword that was supposed to wound the girl. The same hero of the story appears, who in the end will turn out to be the biggest deceiver and villain of the whole story. The main character understands that the man gave the world to ordinary people, and if the guy wants to tell what his real essence is, then no one will believe him. He will only be accused, or the villain's pawns will come for his soul. Finally, he reaches the representative of the guild. She smiles brightly, although her gaze is serious, and extends her hand as a sign of acquaintance. The hero does the same in response. He is ready to take on his first task and is very serious. The girl begins to leaf through a folder of documents in search of a simple job and invites him to try his hand at tracking down easy prey. The hero refuses and asks for a difficult task with a big pay. In response, the woman only laughs and reminds him that his 10th level is only suitable for such a simple job. The joke is over. She understands that he is serious in his intentions, and the guild representative does not want to be told by some rookie hunter. She offers him a test of his abilities. This test should put the guy in his place, but he only gets excited about the idea of showing the real level of his capabilities. The man remembers that he wrote this heroine so strong that, within the framework of the plot, she could resist the main villain of the story and his henchmen. The girl is enveloped in green fire. Her aura radiates deadly energy. She is ready to use her powers and show what she can do. The heroine boldly invites the hero to test his skills. Despite the fact that she smiles, the girl is more dangerous than she seems from the outside. To begin with, she wants to understand whether the hero can evade and not get hurt. The huntress uses a strong spell. Although for the guy's safety, it still cannot harm the people around him or himself. The heroine creates a puppet using fog and releases it towards the guy. The doll is able to track anyone, no matter how hard he hides. In the heat of battle, the puppet appears to crash into the hero and explode. But when the fog clears, no signs of impact are found. Instead, he takes a huge, inhuman leap, leaning on the walls of buildings and bypasses the spell. The girl quickly creates another puppet, again preparing to attack, and this time accurately hit the target. Mist Doll is not an offensive spell, however. The flash and scope of its effect shows how enormous the hunter's power is. The puppet follows on the heels of the hero. It seems that this time it will overtake him. At the last moment, the man dodges. Using teleportation, his body deviates a few centimeters and allows him to avoid a collision with the spirit. The guy takes the girl by surprise. He appears from behind her and prepares to quietly strike. A cold blade ends up at the hunter's neck. The hero not only dodged her attacks, but also defeated her himself, proving that he is truly worthy of a difficult mission, and also of respect. The heroine understands that his strength is not as low as his level. He passed the test, and deserved a high-ranking task. The heroes get into the car. The girl closely watches the guy, examines him, studying his behavior and remembering little things about him. She begins to talk about the task. The puppet helps her get a scroll with a description. The heroine instructs the man to track down one dangerous bandit and finish him off if the mission requires it. The target has a very high level. He has suffered many deaths, but the main thing that the hero must receive is a magic item from the killer's arsenal, and only then deal with him. The man is ready to begin the task immediately and go to catch the criminal. The only thing he asks for as a reward is a license for free passage to the dungeons, and of course, a good reward for the work. He finds himself in a mid-level dungeon, a good outcome for the hero, given that he may encounter useful bosses. The guy cuts his hand to give some blood to the white rabbits who are cowardly hiding behind the stones. Blood activates them. Now they are not harmless animals, but monsters, ready to kill everyone in their path. The rabbits begin to attack the main character, but he is ready to defend himself and meets them face to face with a weapon. With the help of teleportations and short-distance jumps, he defeats monsters and moves on. He is immediately met by the first mid-level boss, Ventus, who sees the hunter as good fun. An ominous aura of power emanates from the monster. He threatens to kill the man. However, if you defeat him, you can rob him and get a magical skill for yourself. Then the boss jumps off sharply. His eyes exude the anger of the whole world. He flies in a rage with a weapon at the main character. Along the way, he creates many illusions of himself, so that the man is distracted and confused, and is unable to repel the monster's blow. Combat skill lies in the ability to repel attacks, and teleportation helps the guy avoid Ventus's sword. But if he had hit the target, the hero would have been mortally wounded by now. The newly acquired skill of seeing a magical aura helps a man understand where the real monster is among his illusions. The energy exuded by him is clearly visible in the real body, and not in copies. Despite the fact that he is technically a mid-level boss, he is not very skilled in combat, which is why the main character easily wounds him in the side. Ventus does not give up. After hitting the enemy, he tries to hit him with his sword, but the guy teleports again. He summons a sword from his arsenal to deal the final and fatal blow to the boss from behind. The weapon plunges into the monster's neck. He can no longer resist or fight. The battle is over. The man moves away from the body of the defeated man as he bleeds to death. He stops in front of a sign that indicates the acquisition of a new skill, illusions, and an object is formed in the place of the monster. The hero does not see, but from the window of a distant house all this time, someone was observing and saw the entire battle. It turns out to be a trio of hunters working together. One of them points to a magical item that fell from the boss, wondering how such a rare thing could come across to a man. The girl invites their leader to drag the main character here to deal with him and take the winnings from Ventus. a good plan for capturing a low-ranking hunter. However, the man refuses this idea and offers only to watch further, so that the hero collects more objects with his own hands, and in the end, take them all away and kill him. The guy comes across a rare plant that grows in inaccessible places, but it can also be obtained from a distant farm from an entrepreneur. It is capable of restoring strength and healing, suppressing increased sensitivity to mana, so he eats it. The hero remembers that if during the battle he had been overcome by an attack due to sensitivity, he would have lost to the monster and would have already been killed. He should be more careful and attentive to his condition. At the same time, a representative of the guild is driving in her car, talking on a mobile phone with someone unknown. This stranger turns out to be the main villain of the entire novel. He is looking for a new hunter for his guild. A man examines the dossier of one candidate and tells the girl that he wants to find a newcomer in order to nurture him himself. Then the heroine accepts the request in the search and promises that she will recommend one such person. But she needs time to check his readiness and abilities herself. The guy thanks her and says that he definitely doesn't doubt her choice. She never makes mistakes and always chooses correctly. The girl also asks if he has any useful information that he is willing to share with her. Not far from the room in which the man is talking, a deal is taking place between his people. They shake hands with each other as a sign of concluding a contract. The villain laughs and claims that he can always tell her what she needs and she can trust him. The man turns and looks behind the glass towards his subordinates. Among them is a young guy whose dossier was in the hands of the head of the guild a few minutes ago. The unfortunate man is scared. His mouth was closed with the help of magic. Panic and fear are visible in his eyes. He does not know what unknown people will do to him. At the same time, the main character once again fights against Ibria, another mid-level boss from this dungeon. Using his sword, he wounds the monster and jumps to the side so that she does not have time to react and hurt him. Ibria uses her abduction skill and aims her enlarged hand at the hero, trying to grab him. Her hand passes through the man's body. With the help of teleportation, he avoids the blow. The monster is surprised and angry. Her strength is not enough to even reach him, let alone the possibility of injuring him. The abduction skill helps to lengthen and change the size of the hand, so she was able to take a huge stone in her palm. The monster throws it at the hero. There is no chance to dodge. It flies straight at him. The stone has reached its target. The man is buried under it and only his hand sticks out from there, as a sign of the hunter's defeat. However, his palm begins to evaporate. The stolen illusion skill helps distract Ibria to his clone. She was taken by surprise and now realizes that she is open to attack, like an easy target. The guy teleports behind the boss and prepares to attack. Now the monster is more scared and disoriented than ready to fight again. He pierces her through with his sword. Ibria is completely defeated, and the guy was able to increase his skill level. The man removes the tip of the sword from the monster's lifeless body, and it falls to the ground. A panel lights up which shows that he has appropriated the boss skill, and a sword appears nearby. This is the reward item for defeating him. The hero decides to test his new abilities, realizing that if he uses them wisely in the next battles, his level of combat ability will greatly increase, as will his lethality. He aims the abduction skill at the knife and takes it away. Now the man can throw and pick up objects in seconds. The guy shifts the weapon to the other hand and takes a fighting stance. A grin flaunts on his face as a sign of complete confidence in his abilities. Still being watched, the trio of hunters use binoculars to see him practicing with a new knife, trying out some techniques. They understand that the guy is not simple, and his strength is quite high, since he defeated Ibria so easily and quickly, and they would need a whole tank for this, if not more. The young guy offers to start acting according to the plan and grab the main character, teach him a lesson, and rob him, leaving him to die. Their leader orders them to shut up and reminds them that their target must become completely exhausted and weakened in order to defeat him as easily as possible. In the same dungeon, that same criminal thoughtfully examines the documents of an organization called the Black Lion. He sits on a throne made from the corpse of a hunter, and next to him are several more. The man mercilessly killed them all. The killer thinks that now he can finally leave the dungeon without any obstacles, but suddenly he feels that something is wrong. He has already been found by the main character, sent for his head. He is standing near the building where the target is hiding. However, this only provokes the criminal. He sees another opportunity to rob another traveler. Using his abilities, he summons hellhounds. They can tear and feast on the hero. The dogs rush forward when ordered, their eyes blazing with anger and rage, ready to destroy anyone in their path. Seeing the threat, the man only projects from his arsenal the meat that he bought in advance at a local shop before the task. The criminal is speechless. He is surprised that the guy is not going to defend himself and only took out a piece of meat. But the animals buy into this trick. Now their target is not a man, but just ordinary food. While the hounds are distracted, the main character takes out his sword. He's going to attack them while they are defenseless. The guy takes turns piercing the chewing dogs. Now they will not be able to harm him. The animals are disappearing. The criminal's magic skill has dissipated. It will not be renewed soon, and he has nothing else to defend himself with. The hero warns the enemy that he must give him what was stolen, otherwise he will take it away by force, and only death will await the man. However, the opponent does not agree with him. He is sure that he will not be able to win, and first suggests that the guy just try to catch him. The criminal still has some aces up his sleeve. He has placed deadly traps everywhere that are invisible to the naked eye. The ability to see a magical aura shows the hunter where all the ambushes are. It warns the hero at every step. He skillfully bypasses each of them, getting closer and closer to his goal. The guy uses short-distance jumps to move faster and more efficiently. The killer is watching all this from the side. He did not expect that the enemy would be so skillful and strong. Now he has to come up with another escape plan. Otherwise, he will quickly suffer the fate of previous opponents. The man is furious. He is not ready to retreat so easily in fear, and will not allow himself to lose to him. The main character notices a constellation above the guy's head. It gives him the power to weaken the enemy's vision and senses. The criminal begins to cast a spell. He uses black magic to create spheres of fire and throws them at the opponent. The ability to teleport helps him dodge blows. They all fly past him without touching even an inch of his body. Emerging from the clouds of smoke after the explosions, he again makes a short jump to get closer to the enemy and prevent him from escaping. The hero jumps onto the same floor where the criminal is and runs after him. The enemy looks back and sees that he is getting closer and closer. Then the killer activates his ability, blindness, and the air around begins to be enveloped in complete darkness. In order to protect himself and not lose his vision, the hunter puts a sword to his eyes, thus repelling the attack without giving the enemy even an iota of advantage. The man is in a panic. His strength is running out, as are his tricks that have no effect on the pursuer. The protagonist uses his newly acquired abduction skill to grab the target and prevent him from leaving. A huge hand holds the criminal tightly in its grip. He is constrained in his movements and would not be able to escape now. The man is increasingly amazed. What he did not expect is the skill of the monster in the hunter's arsenal. The more abilities the hunter shows, the more dangerous he becomes in the eyes of the killer. But this turns out to be a deception, an illusion to immobilize the enemy. In fact, the guy used both abilities, coupled with movement cancellation. He plunges the sword into his side and wounds him. The killer loses blood along with the strength to fight back. The confrontation does not end, despite the deep wound. The criminal activates mana burn and attacks again. The main character notices that a piece of paper with a spell is sticking out of the enemy's bag. Apparently it was a strengthening spell. Thanks to it, the enemy can still fight. He again uses black magic. Flashes of purple fire reach their target, but the main character does not have time to dodge them. The guy's lifeless body falls from the smoke. He does not resist and appears unconscious. The enemy savors the victory. He expects the guy to continue to fight, and he will show him strength again. However, clones appear in front of the man, and he realizes that it was all an illusion, and the main character is fine. He is furious. Again summons black magic and the skill of losing balance and prepares to attack. The man aims the spheres of fire at the guy, but misses every time, and he successfully avoids them. Suddenly, the criminal realizes that he is in danger. His instinct tells him this. The hunter grabs him from behind and pierces him with his sword. This is the winning blow that ends the battle. The only thing the enemy has the strength to do is cowardly crawl away from his death, prolonging the last seconds of life. The man does not understand how the enemy deceived him. He built a successful battle tactic, but the guy still bypassed it. The main character's attention is attracted by a pop-up notification from the system. He tries to crawl away, despite serious wounds and damage to his legs from the enemy's sword. The hunter equips his sword back into his arsenal, while the enemy shouts at him, claiming that capturing a dangerous criminal like him will not change the world. The hero recalls one scene from his short story, where the bad guys threatened the unfortunate man. He deals the final blow, ending with his words that capturing people like him would change a lot, and then the hero would do this all the time. A pop-up window appears again. It notifies that the guy has appropriated all the abilities of the defeated one. The hunter removes all the criminal's valuables. This is something that he can take for himself or sell. He looks at the item characteristics panel and realizes that he has found what he was looking for. Some thief items can increase stamina and health. The guy leaves the battlefield. There are no people or monsters around. It would seem his task in the dungeon is over. However, a trio of other hunters are still watching him, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. The girl offers to start. She does not perceive him as a serious opponent, One of their team is sent a signal to attack the main character. He releases monster rabbits that react to blood and its owner. The animals immediately notice their target. A small pack of predators rushes towards it, ready to kill the guy. When entering the dungeon, the man easily dealt with them. Now nothing has changed. He also quickly removes this small obstacle. The observers did not expect that the hunter would get rid of their traps so quickly. They were surprised and wary. The time has come to attack. The most important and powerful among them attacks from behind to take the hero by surprise. However, the man sensed this and teleported away and avoided the fatal blow. The enemy does not give up. He tries to hit the character over and over again, but he still dodges. The hunter deals 10 blows to the pursuer to slow down his regeneration. This does not affect a man. He is a berserker, which means his abilities increase with the number of blows inflicted. The young man is preparing for another attack. He does not abandon attempts to hit him in order to weaken him. The guy understands that the enemy is quite strong, perhaps even superior in capabilities. He strives to balance the forces in an unequal battle, attacks quickly and quietly. He uses the new blindness skill to deprive his opponent of the main thing, and makes high-speed sword strikes, breaking through the berserker's defense. The pursuer tries to attack back, but no matter how hard he tries, the weapon does not find its target. Suddenly he is seized by an acute feeling of pain throughout his body. He quickly loses strength and cannot replenish his reserves. The man does not believe in this. As a berserker, he should only receive bonuses to his abilities, but not waste them in any way during the battle. The enemy hesitated, and this became a fatal mistake for him. The guy kills the man without delay. The body falls loudly onto the asphalt. This is the end. His partners, watching everything from the side, are horrified. They did not expect that their commander would be defeated so easily. Now, the remaining couple is in a hurry to get away from the scene and get to safety as soon as possible. Having taken the berserker's magical objects and stolen his constellations, the main character slowly departs into the sunset. The mission is over, and he can return. The guild representative warmly greets the guy and receives from him the treasured magical boots that were once stolen by a criminal. Then she puts forward a new task. The first test was much more successful than it seemed at first. At the same time, the man receives his license to enter various high-level dungeons. Not only did the hunter get the shoes, he shows the girl the rest of the loot and invites her to buy them. However, the task is not the only thing that a man needs to complete. He must do several more things. The main target is a man. He is a robber, quite dangerous, and at one time he stole something valuable. Before a new mission, the guy decides to visit one of the entertainment streets of the city. It is replete with bright signs, inviting you to visit every club or bar. Meanwhile, the main character makes a call. He places several orders for one material that he will need later. While the guy is waiting, he decides to visit one of the bars to while away the time doing something pleasant. At the entrance, he is greeted by the spectacle of a battle, an unknown man striking his opponent with a flourish. The defeated opponent falls unconscious to the floor. The rest, including the winner of the fight, rejoice. The hero offers money and places an order for a rare item from the bar menu. Usually few people drink such a cocktail. The girl bartender accepts payment and immediately gets to work. Sometimes she glances at the cute visitor. Suddenly, a man notices a woman in the shadows of the room. He knows her and does not understand how she ended up here. The girl is not simple. She is subordinate to the general director of the Eclipse organization, which previously forced the main character to serve his duty in the mines. The hunter is perplexed. Despite the fact that he has already been given an order, he still looks to the side and thinks about the reason for the girl's presence here. The guy takes a liking to the woman serving him, and she secretly shares with him her suspicions about the dubious heroine in the corner. It is quite possible that the subordinate from Eclipse is here to suddenly close the bar and capture all the guests and random people who came here, and then send them to the mines. The attention of the interlocutors is distracted by a loud sound. They turn around to find out what happened. Eclipse soldiers enter the bar. Their smiles do not bode well. The visitors are furious. They understand what it is like and are not going to just give in. People try to attack, but nothing works. The soldiers easily knock them out. One of them looks at the main character, boldly and impudently turns to him to find out why he is looking like that, of course. This is all a provocation. Now the soldier is attacking the guy. In his hands, an axe with which he is going to cut off his opponent's head. But he misses, the hunter teleports, and the strike falls on the attacker's colleague. While he hesitates, the main character teleports again and wounds the enemy from behind. A subordinate of the general director of the organization watched the battle from the side. She was interested. The heroine jumps up and grabs a knife, heading towards the guy. She sharply throws the weapon in the direction of the hunter. If her attack hits the target, then he will not live. However, the knife flies past and pierces the eclipsed soldier, causing blood to spray from his shoulder. Without wasting time, the woman quickly jumps up to the enemy to attack again. She pulls the knife out of him. The guy is defeated by a fatal blow. The hero looks at the dangerous bar visitor in bewilderment and does not understand why she kills her own people. The soldiers are preparing to attack. There are 2 deadly assassins in front of them, and they must either be detained or destroyed. The girl is not afraid of them. She steps forward, takes a fighting stance and grins, realizing that she is stronger than them. While the hero still doubts the hunter's intentions, she rushes forward. Her reaction is quick, and her blows are elusive. He cannot show that he is hiding behind the stranger from the bar. He also quickly joins the fight and throws his weapon at one of the soldiers. Opponents think that he has lost his knife and is open to a blow. The enemy seizes this moment and attacks. But that was not the case. With the help of his abilities and equipped artifacts, the guy puts his hand forward to return the weapon. He grabs it and delivers an unexpected blow to his opponent, who is thrown aside. The girl looks back at the guy. She is surprised by his capabilities in battle. In response, the man only points behind himself towards the back entrance and offers to leave that way. The hunter immediately takes off and heads for the door, while the woman looks back at her pursuers. Another batch of killers meets them on the stairs at the entrance. They prevent them from going out into the street and block other escape routes. While Eclipse's gang is busy with unexpected rivals, the remaining handful of soldiers finish off the bar's patrons. The main character wastes no time. He quickly gets rid of the attackers and disarms them. Suddenly, another enemy appears. He jumped out of nowhere and now has the opportunity for a good attack. The girl hits him in the head with a knife, saving her unexpected colleague in disaster from being hit. There is a smile on her face. The heroine is captivated by the battle, but for her, it is just entertainment. Several soldiers immediately throw their axes towards the guy, trying to wound him, but they fly past. The man responds by dispatching all nearby opponents in a couple of blows, opening up a path to the street for himself. The woman is again surprised. She expected that the skills of a random partner would be based on basic techniques for battle, but some abilities indicate the presence of magical items and abilities. They finally break out of the building and hide behind a wall from the gang's eyes. The heroine gives the hunter a business card, promising that for such skills, he will receive a much more generous reward than he is usually paid. He takes her and asks her to notify him if a big paying job comes up, and then he turns around and leaves. When the guy is out of sight, Eclipse's subordinate comes out to her people, whom she fought against a few minutes ago. The hero gets off at one of the stations in Seoul. He still moves carefully so as not to inadvertently get caught by Eclipse's bloodhounds if they are following in his tracks. The man picks up his package. The purchase was made for a rare plant that reduces sensitivity to mana and increases health and stamina. Seoul is a city of opportunity. The organization of the villain of the novel cleared the entire city of dangers and monsters. But this is only the bright side. The guys introduced a monopoly on hunting in the dungeons, which is why the hunters were left without work. The hero decides to go to the store. He wants to change weapons. The old sword that was picked up during the escape is not very good. He sees what he needs. The knife will be quite an expensive purchase, but the bonuses it will add to the hero's capabilities outweigh the price. Suddenly the guy stops, amazed at the picture opening before him. A family walks ahead. They say the city is very safe to live in thanks to the organization. The man just passes by with the thoughts that all this is nothing more than a whim and self-deception. The illusion will soon crumble and the true villain will show his face, like his guild. Unexpectedly, the father of the family falls on the asphalt. The mother stands in shock. Their little son was taken away by criminals. People are panicking. Everyone asks to call the security organization, and the hunter decides to intervene in the conflict. He doesn't have time to do this. One man from the Purification Guild appears ahead. The young man should never have been here. The hero did not think that he would meet him. The man throws a bank card forward and grins. He is clearly ready to fight back in this situation. The hunter offers the robbers a ransom and says that they can freely spend this money provided that the child is returned to his family. The criminals fall for the trick, leave the boy with his worried parents, and then run away. No such luck. The guy from the guild has the ability to change space. He took advantage of it. The hunter appears right in front of the fleeing thieves. They quickly stop and realize that they are in trouble. Worse than child abduction. A black sphere is formed around the opponents. They have no way to escape, only to fight. While they are confused, the hero attacks them, cutting off half of the unfortunate man's body. The second immediately asks for mercy. There is no way out, and death, hand in hand with the enemy, is breathing in the back. Then he realizes that he is in a hopeless situation. He will not be forgiven, and all that remains is to continue the battle. His head is immediately blown off. It was an easy victory. The opponents fell into the trap of a guild agent. He approaches the boy's parents, who cordially thank the man while the main character moves away from them. The girl from the bar, a representative of Eclipse, began searching for the dossier on the main character. The main character approaches the entrance to the dungeon. He is guarded by 2 men. In order to defeat the hunter from the Purification Guild in the future, the guy needs to defeat all the bosses and increase his level to the 100th. He lights up with this idea. In general, another battle for him is more fun than something serious. The dungeon meets him with quicksand and strong winds, covering his tracks in seconds. However, the man is not so simple. He uses his vision, so as not to get confused and walk in circles. He stands at the cliff. There is no further way, and the hunter has not yet met his goal. It is too early to retreat. Predatory lizards were already waiting for him behind him. They followed him to attack later. At the same time, the girl from Eclipse continues to find out the details of the life of the stranger she met. She is informed that the guy was able to defeat a person of level 100. Then the heroine wonders how a slave from the mines with a 10th level was able to defeat such a strong opponent. In a rage, she burns the dossier she brought with the information. It cannot be correct, given the abilities of the stranger which she saw with her own eyes. Predatory lizards die one after another from the clever attacks of the main character. Many bodies of monsters lie at the hunter's feet. Although they are small opponents, one way or another they are also useful and do not significantly raise the hero's level. He beckons them with his finger, inviting them with his gaze to attack him. His aura exudes danger. A man is pursued by predators. He decides to jump over the rift and throw the monsters off his tail. As expected, the stupid animals fall into the abyss of sand, never reaching their goal. The man rejoices. During the battle he gained 7 levels. He is growing quickly. A woman from the organization comes to the place where the main character fled. She sees a bloody summoning mark. It becomes clear to her that the guy could well have summoned the constellation right here. Then she receives a call from the master. The heroine asks to give her a new informant, because the previous one was killed by her due to incorrect information about the fugitive. Meanwhile, the hunter remembers his escape and realizes that the stranger from the bar already knows who he is. But he doesn't care. A monster appears from behind him. His whole body is engulfed in fire. Finally, the first boss has entered the battle arena. He looks intimidating, dangerous, confidently walking towards the main character. His hand is his own weapon. Once again, it cannot be done without observers. A man stands nearby on a steep cliff. He pulls the bowstring, but it is not clear who his target is, a monster or an unexpected visitor to the dungeon. A few minutes later, the monster is already lying in the water. His body is smoking from the reaction of water and fire. He is defeated. The observer is surprised. He did not expect that the hero would finish the battle with the dungeon boss so quickly. A man uses teleportation to avoid several blows from a fire weapon. The mid-level boss turned out to be not so difficult to defeat. You just need to lure him into the oasis. The representative of the guild who tested the hunter decided that he should be studied in more detail. She gives that same observer a dossier on the hero and asks him to carefully watch him. Just surveillance, nothing unusual, only in case of danger for a man. A person should intervene and protect him. But as the archer sees, his target does not need help. He easily avoids obstacles and deals with monsters. A new enemy for him is several defenders. The creatures are able to create a dome around themselves to repel attacks. Their strength lies in their unity. As long as they are inseparable, each can protect his own flank. The hero does not waste time. He tries to approach the shield and prepare to hit it. The attack occurs. The more seconds of the battle pass, the more clear the monster's tactics become. He blinds them and renders them unconscious with magic, so they are not so good at predicting enemy tactics. The man separates one of the trio of defenders, thus weakening them all at once. While the deprivation spell is still working, the main character quickly rushes towards a pair of monsters. He takes them out in one strong blow. The shield breaks and opens the opponent's bodies to attack. Drops of blood rush in different directions, evidence of victory over 2 of the 3. There is only one left, and this is not a problem. Alone, he is too weak to dodge the guy's weapon. At that moment, the traveler ends everything with one lunge, piercing the monster's body through and through. The enemy in metal armor falls roughly onto the sand, his sword sticking out from him, with which he himself was defeated. Now the guy gets to the new boss of the dungeon. A monster in rags stands in his way. She laughs evilly, showing sharp teeth that could easily cut the throat of one of the dungeon visitors. The main character points to him. This boss is the main purpose of coming here. Both are ready for battle. All that remains is to attack one of them first, before the other one will hesitate to respond. The monster, Alicia, releases several purple spheres, as if testing the enemy and his capabilities. But realizing that it cannot be reached so easily, she creates more and more so that at least one hits the target. Enveloped in purple smoke, the burning spheres stream towards the hunter. However, none of them hit the hero. He quickly dodges them by jumping over short distances. Behind Alicia's back there is a bright sphere. This is protection. She controls it without hands or spells, only with the power of thought. Then she creates magical rays which rain down to the ground like spears. Jumping consumes enough stamina, so during the battle the guy chews a life-saving plant, the supply of which he recently acquired. Suddenly the man stands directly in the opponent's face, a small maneuver that should force Alicia to use the rest of her techniques. She snaps her bony fingers. Clearly this is not just a gesture, but the activation of a heavy spell. The main character avoids him, but understands that if he had been caught, she would definitely have bled him a lot, inflicting very serious wounds. The witch's attacks exactly repeat the guy's steps and follow his steps. It seems that only the monster attacks in this battle. At some point she stops for a split second. Her magical powers are consumed very heavily, but not a single attack gave the desired result. The dungeon boss is discouraged. The archer is still watching all this. He is amazed by the fight, but he is also thinking about the possibilities of the traveler. Alicia activates one of the most powerful techniques. A huge beam bursts from the sky, hitting everything in its path. He falls to the ground like a meteor, and the hunter can only jump from place to dodge. The purple flame around the monster burns with a bright light. The enemy wants to strike directly at the main character. The moment has come for his abilities. The main character uses capture, abduction, and grabs the witch. Although she escapes from captivity, these seconds of delay provide an opportunity to attack. The boss's eyes flash with rage. Uncontrollable anger not only pours out emotionally, it also increases the power of the attack. A huge explosion is heard. The observer is not blown away only because he remained behind the stone. The main character teleports and finds himself behind the enemy. Now there is room for maneuver. Alicia foreshadows this. The protective sphere should prevent the enemy from striking. She attacks the target with flashes of lilac flame. But the guy uses a shield stolen from the previous trio of bosses. While he is safe, and the monster's spell does not work, she finds herself under attack. The man pierces her with a knife. For added effect, the weapon is engulfed in flames, fatally striking the boss's body and causing it to burst into flames. While her face burns away, only a handful of ash remains from her body, as evidence of her helplessness and weakness. The observer is shocked, of course. He had previously seen what the hero's capabilities were. However, he did not expect that he would deal with the main boss of the dungeon so skillfully. All this time, the hunter felt the presence of someone else nearby, that he was being watched. But now the viewer left, making sure of the guy's abilities. He decides to again strengthen his strength with a special plant. Meanwhile, a table appears about the acquired new skills in the man's arsenal. While the traveler was robbing the dungeon, Eclipse was still investigating his escape. The organization has found the place where the fugitive was hiding for some time. They want to find him. Already at the threshold of the apartment, it becomes clear that there is no one to look for here. All that remains is to find clues. While Eclipse's little mongrels rummage through the things of the owners of the house, their commander keeps in touch with his master. The general director informs his subordinate that he needs to immediately find such a talented hunter. He can also become a worthy replacement for the girl herself. This news does not attract her. The soldiers still found a useful clue. One of them shows the sheet to his mistress. It becomes clear that the owner of the apartment is the same friend of the main character. At the same time, the hunter realizes that they are following him, and the woman must have already realized who he is. The man knows that his girlfriend is a member of a guild that is accountable to the Purification Organization, that she is their informant, and they may soon find her. But for now, he decides to put the problem aside. First, he needs to deal with the task from the Blue Eye Guild. The guy must find someone to successfully complete the mission. He needs help. He also thinks about his escape. Decides that the guild that recently gave him the task should not give information about him to Eclipse because of the general conflict. A red-haired man stands near the house. His gaze is directed high up. He looks around the building. He tensely ruffles his hair. The guy is clearly tired of looking for something, visiting not the first house in his name. He was given a task. He must find his fellow countryman, an old friend. But it is not entirely clear why the customer needs this. He raises his hand to knock, hoping his target will be there. A young man opens the door. He does not recognize the visitor and only looks at him in bewilderment. He is asked if he knows where a wanted hunter is, to which he only irritably replies that he does not understand who they are talking about. The man carefully looks around the apartment of his interlocutor in search of possible evidence in the presence of someone else. Unexpectedly, but out of the corner of his gaze, the elder notices a pistol lying on the table. The door closes, and the hunter intensely peers at his watch. Probably he lost a lot of time in pursuit of his missing friend. While he is distracted, the guy from the apartment carefully opens the door. He has a gun in his hand. He points his weapon at the hunter's back, preparing to shoot the unexpected guest. But he doesn't have time. The man quickly reacts to the threat, pulls out a sword, and attacks the young man. He mercilessly cuts his pistol with a blade and deprives him of a finger. The young man did not expect such a development of events. The hunter is furious. Although he did not expect a strike from behind, however, he should not have allowed it. The young man clutches his bloody hand and briskly tries to escape from his pursuer. However, he doesn't have time. The man pushes him with his foot, pressing him to the floor and not allowing him to stand up. Blood is smeared everywhere. The young man loudly falls right in his own tracks. The sword pierces the floor near the guy's face. His eyes widen in fear. He is no longer as self-confident as when trying to kill his opponent. The man crosses his guns at the hero's neck. This is a threat, and if he does not answer the necessary questions, his head will instantly lose contact with his body. In fear, he reveals that the one they are looking for was in his apartment and ordered him to kill everyone who asks about him. The answer is correct. This is the only thing that now saved him from death. Only honesty with the unexpected visitor. The man leaves, having received the right clues for further search, but a patrol looms sharply on the horizon. The police were here by chance, but their presence threatens the hunter. He hides behind a nearby wall, which shields him from the patrol's view. One of them turns his attention to the corner where the man is standing. Something has caught his attention. The hunter understands that if he is discovered now, he will immediately get into trouble with the law. Suddenly, the policemen are stopped by a man who politely greets them. The man notices this. Now he has a chance for a small escape from the law. The civilian points somewhere in the other direction. He asks the patrol to help, because a woman nearby has lost her stroller. While they are distracted by the conversation, the hero runs from one corner to another, opposite the direction of the police. The person who helped in this situation turns out to be the main character. He leaves with a grin on his face. The red-haired man took out an album. There was a photo of him and a friend. In the photo, both are smiling and raising their fists up, as if as a sign of victory, or maybe just joy. He recalls their conversation. The friend then learned that the man had received an appointment in Seoul. He asks him to accept him and promises that he will soon follow him, getting a job with the local police. The hunter's eyes give off tension. These memories are dear to him. They are like a reminder of how he started everything and with whom. While the hunter is looking at the album, someone slowly approaches the entrance. This is the main character. His face radiates seriousness, however, as always. The man turns to him. He is wary, and sees that this is the same man who helped him during the day. The guy takes a few leisurely steps forward. He shows no hostility. However, this does not go unnoticed by the man. He puts his palm to his swords, preparing to repel the attack if something happens. But the main character only raises his hand, showing that he is not dangerous, and stops. He offers his interlocutor a partnership for a while, unconditionally assuring that this is beneficial to them, because both want to find the same person. The representative of the Blue Eye Guild smiles sweetly. She talks with the archer who recently watched the main character. Suddenly, both are distracted by a loud sound. It comes from the reception area, where different voices are trying to resist the passage of someone unknown. The unknown turns out to be a girl from Eclipse. She proudly opens the door wide. She lifts the piece of paper up, showing that she came with something to do, while the others just stand there in bewilderment, not knowing what to do. The girl from the Blue Eye gets up. The CEO's assistant distracted her from an important conversation. She pierces those around her with a fierce gaze, just one look, showing what consequences can await those who interfere with her. In response, Commander Eclipsa only states that she comes in peace, and there is no need to react to her like that. She holds out a file on some hunter and asks him to help her find out more information about him. The girl picks up the document. The tension on her face gives way to surprise with a bit of fear when she sees who exactly Eclipse is looking for.